talent and you can show someone how they can cultivate their talent, help them cultivate their talent. If you can mentor somebody, mentor somebody. If you can learn from somebody, learn from somebody. If you can teach somebody some information that would be great for them to learn, teach them that information. Go the extra mile this year and make it one where you invest something of yourself so that we all can be blessed. In our passage today, we read of the vision of the Magi to give Jesus some gifts. Now, there are 3 gifts, so we normally assume there are 3 Magi. There could have been 20 Magi. We don't know, right? It doesn't really say. It was 3 gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And here they are, men from the east, as they're going to give baby Jesus these gifts. And as they go, they end up meeting with King Herod the Great, also known as. And they say, we are coming to give gifts. You know, we have seen the star of the King of the Jews. And King Herod was very bothered by this phrase, the King of the Jews. And so finally he says to them, when you find him, come back to me so that I may worship him. These are the only real words we have of King Herod in the Bible. Now I'll give you a little story about who King Herod is. Herod is a man called Herod the Great. He was a man who rebuilt the second temple in Jerusalem. So he did good construction stuff. He also created a port, a Caesarea Maritime port, which was a big port so that there could be trading and industry. King Herod did a lot of big things in terms of architecture and in terms of trade. He was a great man in the sense that he built up the city. So if there was an unused port, King Herod was the one who got it to function again. If the church wasn't looking right, King Herod was the one who rebuilt the church. King Herod, considered Herod the Great. Here's the problem. He was also considered a madman. He killed his wife and his son. He was brutal. He was a disaster. He was an egomaniac. He was the governor of Jerusalem and that area, but he was under Rome. And all he really was concerned about was having his own power. And it came to the point where King Herod got replaced by his nephew and his nephew's army to replace him as the ruler. And what does Herod do? Herod runs to Rome and he says, you know, my nephew has replaced me. I need help to win back my people. So Herod goes down with a new army from Rome and he kicks out his nephew and he ends up being the ruler again. And what Rome said to Herod was, we will help you out and you will be called the King of the Jews. That is the title that Rome gave King Herod, the King of the Jews. And Herod thought, great, I love the way that sounds. King, wonderful. So now Herod goes with the Roman army helping him out, kicks out his nephew and his nephew's army, and retakes control of the land. Herod, however, wants to make sure that his influence is even stronger. So he realizes, I need to marry a Jewish woman. So he marries this one woman. So that's the problem. He wants to marry this one woman. The problem is, he's already married with a wife named Doris, and he has a 3-year-old son. The solution to the problem, banish them. So that he can marry this Jewish woman and get the favor of the Jewish elite. King Herod was religious, but only when it served his purpose. He was religious only so that the Jewish elite and the religious leaders can say, all right, maybe you're not that bad of a guy. King Herod was the type of guy who would go to synagogue when the cameras were on TV and do the performances, and the moment the camera leaves, he all of a sudden would take off the yarmulke, throw it down, and just really not be Jewish at all. King Herod was the guy who would do the community service when he saw that there were people watching, but when the community service was over, he would probably cut the funding for the place that was actually doing the community service. King Herod was a guy who was marrying people only for influence, and if you were his wife or his child and you got in the way of his power, he would banish you. He was that kind of guy. He was an egomaniac. So all of a sudden, when the Magi came and said, we have seen the star of the King of the Jews, what do you think King Herod was planning to do? Right. And the phrase King of the Jews bothered him. Of course it bothered him. But the Magi, when they found Jesus and they gave gifts to Jesus, and they told the mother and they told the father what they were doing, when they were about to return, they had to return another way. And the other way, because an angel a dream, you have to go back another way because Herod's going to do this bad thing. And then they return another way. They elude Herod. And when Herod finds out that he's been tricked, he was so furious that he had all the boys, the young boys of that region, killed. And so he ends up performing this massacre. Baby Jesus, of course, survives. And the saddest thing about Herod is this. Right after that, he dies. So this is the tragedy of King Herod. Here is the opposite of what I'm talking about, Mr. Rogers. Here is a man who did not care for his people. He didn't love his people. He didn't love the people he was ruling or governing. He only loved what? Himself. And the only thing he thought about was himself. The moment he hears that there is a king of the Jews who's born, he gets so worried, so paranoid, so anxious that some 2-year-old is going to replace him, that he wants to make sure that all the 2-year-olds are done. This man doesn't care at the fact that maybe he needs to start looking for a replacement because he's not going to live forever. King Herod thinks, I'm going to live forever as king. You're not going to live forever as king. You do need a successor to help you out with ruling your kingdom. If King Herod was satisfied with the fact that his life was up to a point, maybe his rulership was up to a point, maybe his kingdom and his rule was up to a point, King Herod was not able to look at all the things that God allowed him to do as the governor. King Herod couldn't accept the fact that he helped rebuild the temple, and that's a really great thing. He helped build the port, and that's a really great thing. He couldn't accept the fact that these were great things that were done, but that he would have to, at one point in time, let go of control. He couldn't accept that, and since he was so paranoid about that, he ends up ordering that the young boys in his region be, because he couldn't accept the fact that he won't live forever. He won't rule forever. And he has to let go. He didn't care about his people. He could have said, the king of the Jews was born 2-year-old. You know what? Let's have a school. Let me make sure all the young kids in Bethlehem are able to be educated properly. Let's raise them up so that the future generation can keep Jerusalem around, so that my name can actually carry on with the success of Jerusalem. King Herod thought, if other people succeed in the work that I do, then I'm going to be forgotten. But the truth of the matter is if you help other people out, especially for a cause that's larger than you, you live on with the cause. You live on with the success. And when other people succeed because you help them out, guess what? You are part of that success. There is a cliche, I love it, but if you help someone get to the top of a mountain, you find yourself there too as well. And he couldn't accept the fact that maybe, just maybe, I need to help out and build for the future. I need to let go of this control. I need to help others rise to leadership positions so that they can help my people grow and succeed. Instead, it was all about him. And the sad thing is that after the massacre, he ends up dying. And that's it. That is the end of King Herod. It reminds me of a story Solomon had to deal with. King Solomon was known as the wisest king. And one time these 2 prostitutes came to him. And one of them came with a baby in her hand. And she said, this woman is trying to take my child from me. Help me out. So King Solomon sees that these 2 women are arguing over the baby's life. And one says that the other stole the baby from her while she was asleep. All right? And so King Solomon goes to hear the story. And the story goes something like this. That the woman who was sleeping with her baby next to her rolled over and killed her baby. And what she did was she ended up taking the baby of another woman. And so when they woke up now they're fighting over whose baby this is. So what does King Solomon say? King Solomon says, I know the solution to this problem. Cut the baby in half so that you may both have that baby. Now, the woman who stole the baby says, great, let's do that. The real mother of the child says, I'd rather the child live with her than be killed in that way. If it's not with me, I'm going to be heartbroken, but I'd rather the child live, even if that means with Solomon says, that's the mother. There comes a point where